There are a lot of things spreading these days. Fear, despair, something called aerosols. But there's something out there, something better, that we can spread even faster. Goodness. Goodness is contagious. When it's given, shared, and celebrated, goodness can reach the far corners of the world. Even from this corner. If you do one good thing, you can inspire another, and another, and another, and another, and whoa, until goodness is being spread by everyone, everywhere. Until it's the only thing you can see, turning dark and gloomy days into something less dark and less gloom. The more goodness we spread, the more we fight back. It's an unstoppable force, a powerful remedy, a 1-2 love punch. It's a way to touch people without, touching people. And it's all in your hands, your very clean hands. So make a donation and make a difference. Do it from your bed or your kitchen or sure. Then invite your friends to do the same so they can keep the goodness going too. Together, we can spread goodness everywhere. Isn't that great? Download the inLieu app to spread goodness and donate on behalf of others to any nonprofit. inLieu.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on this Facebook Live. I am so excited to be here today with my friend Kathy Terry, who has been making waves since she first started her business 20 years ago. Most people know Kathy because of her businesses. In 2005, she co-founded P. Terry's Burger Stand with her husband, Patrick, and there are now 19 locations and an incredible loyal customer base. P. Terry's has more than 750 employees and pays employees on a higher scale compared to other larger chain competitors. Kathy and Patrick have had a heart for philanthropy, and giving back has always been a core principle of Terry's business model. Through their stewardship, the restaurant chain itself has donated over $1 million, all benefiting local nonprofits here in Central Texas. And Kathy did not stop there. In 2017, she launched an all-new mobile app called inLieu that we're going to be talking about today. It's the first social giving app where users can make donations and share a personal message with a friend anytime, anywhere. So like rather than bringing candles or wine to a dinner party that needs neither, you can give in your friend's honor. And Kathy's personal mission is to change the way we think about giving. It's a reflection of a lifetime of charitable giving and service. Her goal is simple: to make it easier for people to make the world a better place. She's on the board of the Safe Alliance, which is one of Impact Austin's community partners. She's been on the board for the last 6 years, and she's also hosted children and their loved ones in the home through Heart Gift, a nonprofit that allows kids from other countries who are born with congenital heart defects to receive life-saving surgeries in Austin. Kathy is also a member of the Nobel Women's Initiative with one of Impact Austin's founders, Nancy Word, and we are so proud that she is also an Impact Austin member. So Kathy, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning. How are you doing? How are you hanging in these times of COVID?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And, we are making the best of it. I think like everybody else, we've had a lot of family time, which has been really good. But I think, we're just navigating it the best we can. And so trying to see all the good in it. So yeah, we'll just plugging along.
How are you staying connected to the people in your life right now with all the distance?
It's so funny. A lot of Zoom calls for sure. Living in this virtual world. But it's interesting. I think with COVID, we've all had time to reflect on so many things. And for me, I've actually probably had more in-person, like social distance outdoor interactions with friends that I just intentionally reached out to because I felt like I think COVID just slowed everything down in my personal life. I think it accelerated a lot of things and, outside of my life. But I think for me internally, it slowed down. And so I've reached out to people that I haven't had, conversations with or connections with in a long time. So it's been really sweet, I have to say.
I know. I mean, that sounds wonderful. I can totally relate to kind of the slowing down effect and the focusing and that introspection on what really matters right now. And one way I've actually kept in touch with a couple people is through donating to causes that my friends really care about. And I know that's one of the things. I am like an evangelist for inLieu. So that's really one purpose right now of spreading the word and spreading your message of doing good and spreading good. So I wanted to give a plug for inLieu and tell my friends this is an incredible way to stay connected to others right now. We're not going to dinner parties, and we're not, we're not out and about where we would normally be giving gifts to folks. And I think that right now the way to give good is to donate to charities that really, really need them right now. So inLieu as an app, it combines a social network with a messenger system and is a secure way to make a donation to any nonprofit. I've heard it be described as the Venmo for donating. And you can link your contacts directly. I keep wanting to pick up my phone and show you how easy it is. You can link your contacts and pick a friend and pick a nonprofit and put in the message and send them a gift in about a minute or less. And I can say both as a user on both sides, both as a donor and also as a nonprofit fundraiser, the app is pretty incredible. It's a pretty amazing technology. And the way that you run inLieu as a nonprofit itself is also, it's incredibly streamlined. And this is for the nonprofit fundraisers for getting gifts, and also what inLieu does sort of on the back end of processing tax receipts and processing the donations. We get our checks really quickly. So I'm doing a plug too for all my friends that are also in nonprofit management and fundraising, that promoting it to your donors is a great way for you to increase giving in a way that's more personal, and also for yourselves, save yourselves some administrative work. So, but I know you, and I know that your reasons for starting inLieu were not all those administrative kind of technical things or even technology. You probably did not start inLieu with the desire to be a tech startup entrepreneur. So tell us, Kathy, more on the background of inLieu and why you do what you do.
Well, thanks. And thanks for that great explanation. Yes, it's so funny. My intention was not to start a business. I mean, like you said, I had a business. So inLieu was not about starting a business. It was really about changing the conversation. And it was really about me wanting to show up differently and wanting my friends to show up differently. And so inLieu just happened to be the tool that made it possible to do that. Like, yes, I mean, everything about inLieu was very intentional. Like, I wanted to make it easy for the nonprofits. I wanted to make it easier for the users. I mean, I wanted it to be seamless, because I wanted us to have more time to spend on building connections with our friends, right? And having those deeper and more intimate conversations. And so for inLieu, the whole thing about inLieu is about replacing gifts with social impact, right? And gift giving, it's so interesting. Once I've got involved in inLieu, I just realized there's so much psychology around gifting, right? We all gift for different reasons, but ultimately it's all about showing our love, our appreciation, and our gratitude for our friends. And I felt like my gifts just kept missing the mark. Like, I didn't have time to go find that perfect gift. And also I realized that I wasn't really getting to know my friends, right? Like, our conversations were really more on the surface, or our kids or whatever else. Like, I wanted, it's like Michelle Obama says, our stories are our power. And I felt like I didn't know my friends' stories, and that they really didn't know my stories, right? And so for me, it was like, instead of giving that scented candle, that bottle of wine, why don't I find out what is she passionate about, or he passionate about, and where are they giving their time back, and what is really filling them up, and what's bringing them joy. And so inLieu was kind of like the way to facilitate that. And the great thing about inLieu, I have to say, is, in gifting this way, is you do there is the whole saving natural resources and reducing waste. I mean, these are all like amazing byproducts, right? Like, it is the most sustainable gift you can give. Like, there's zero carbon footprint in giving a donation, right? And also it's increasing social impact. So there's so many great, amazing benefits of it. I mean, and like you said, the technology, it's great. I mean, I do all my donating. It tracks all my donations. At the end of the year, I get one receipt. And so just the ease of it is great. But for me, it was way more about that connection and those relationships.
And you have certainly made and enriched your relationships this way. I can say I've used it, and I will go a little bit more into detail of different creative ways I've used inLieu. But really quickly, I wanted to show people how the technology works, and just a quick video, an animation to show folks how to use it. And so check it out, take a look. So it really is that easy.
It is.
It's like really that easy. And I mean, learning the technology is definitely one thing. I would also say that getting to know more about your friends is a different way. And I know that you've been, you started inLieu 2 years ago, and I'd love to know some of the different ways you personally have used the app, and also how you've seen other people use the app.
Sure. Well, I use it all the time. I tell people, you know, it's like any business, right? I mean, I eat burgers every day because I have a burger business. I use but no, I mean, for me, I use it so much, even for thank yous, like, you know, for birthdays. My daughters actually have been baking cookie cakes to raise money. And so people have been donating through the app. So it's, you know, instead of me collecting the Venmo and then me sending it to the nonprofit, they're just doing it directly through the app. So, so it's fun to do little fundraisers like that. But definitely like birthdays. And for other people, I think birthdays is probably the biggest thing I've seen. And by the way, happy birthday to you.
Thank
and,
you.
And also I've seen a lot of recently, like more companies are using it, like for corporate gifting and for employee recognition. And we have had a couple of businesses recently do some like matching, like fundraising, matching for certain nonprofits. Because the social feed, it's kind of fun because you can see people in the feed and you can, you know, see their messages. I have one friend that I love because she uses it and she does all her like gifting with it, but she also does her direct donations. And you know, she'll just hear something on the news about some nonprofit and she'll just like get on the app and send them some love. And she always has a sweet little message, but it inspires me when I see it. I'm like, oh, that's so great. So, yeah, it's interesting to see the different uses, but people find a way to, you know, work it into their lifestyle. So it's been great.
I personally used inLieu, and I can tell just a quick story about my best friend, and I hope she is okay with me sharing this story. I think she will be. And she experienced something really huge a year ago, and it was a milestone that's hard to honor or celebrate. She last year Her life was forever changed. She was admitted to the hospital with a pregnancy that was not going well, and she delivered her incredible twins, who then spent 91 days in the NICU. I think her life was absolutely forever changed for the better, what she went through, but still a really hard experience. So I remember her telling me at the time, when kind of just checking in with her, how she was able to feed the babies while they were in the NICU with donor breast milk while they were there. And it was one of the first times I really stopped to think about how completely generous it is that there are people out there that donated their own breast milk to help my friend and her babies. So on that 1 year anniversary, I was like, there's no card for this. There's no, no flowers in the world will be able to honor her experience. And I'm all the way here in Austin and she's in the Dallas area. So I couldn't even be there to like give her a hug and check in with her. So I used inLieu and I made a donation to Mother's Milk Bank in North Texas, where she lives. That was the organization that helped provide that donor milk. The app sent my message to her, and she knew that I was thinking about her all day that day, and that I'd been listening at the time, and that I was there with her on that journey. And also that I wanted other families to benefit from that generosity of milk donors. So, I will tell you, I did it to honor her, but you know what else it did? It made me feel really good. It made me feel good that I couldn't be there. Even though I couldn't be there with her, I wanted to give her a hug. I wanted to tell her how much I loved her, that making a donation via inLieu was the best way I could think of, giving her a hug from hundreds of miles away. And so with that, Kathy, I know that one of the big motivators for people to give is that it gives them a sense of satisfaction, and it actually taps into our sense of feeling good and happiness. There have been studies that show that happiness tends to increase when one donates a greater portion of their income, and single women specifically who give more than 2% of their income to charity report a life satisfaction that's higher above women who give less than 2%. Researchers have also shown that doing nice things for people feels really good, but they've also discovered that even thinking about doing something generous for another person helps them feel good. So does this track with your experience? And I want you to talk a little bit about the happiness factor that we've talked about before together.
Oh my gosh, yes, for sure, hands down. Like, I can't even believe. It's so funny. I almost feel guilty sometimes because I feel like I get way more out of it than I give. With anything, volunteering, with donations, and it's that connection that you make with your friends, when you're supporting their cause, but also, I feel like when I'm giving on behalf of someone else, I'm learning something about them, but I'm also learning about other nonprofits. But yeah, when you do make that gift, it's just such a good feeling, right? And it's like in the drive-through, like I go through the drive-through all the time, every day, just already been. And I try to always buy the person behind me their food. And I'm just giddy when I drive off because I know they don't, hopefully they don't know who it is, but I'm just like, oh my God, I hope I made their day, right? And it just makes me happy. And I think that that's the thing that we've lost is seeking that type of joy. And I think that that's the joy that I'm always seeking out, right? And I think it's just having changing our mindset around what what brings us joy, what fills us up, and being more intentional with it. With our business, like you said, we give back. Those give back days are some of my favorite days. We give Christmas bonuses, which is by far my favorite day of the year. Like even with Heart Gift, when we bring kids into our home, that, yes, we're giving a gift of, we're helping these families, have a place to stay while they're trying to save their child's life. But what we get out of it, what my family gets out of it is, it's unbelievable. That gift, exchange, right? And I think there's, like you said, there's so much research around you know, giving money. And I think I talk about this one all the time. They did at Berkeley where they split up a group and they gave like 10 people. I mean, they gave everybody $20, and like 10 people or however many people, they said, okay, go out and spend this money on yourself, throughout the day, whatever you want to do with it. And then the other half of the group, they said, okay, go out and spend this money, but you have to spend it intentionally on someone else. And then they came back, and the whole idea was to see, does it make you happier when you give that way? And the people that spent it for themselves said, no, my happiness level didn't change because I just, bought coffee with it, or I bought lunch or whatever. And the people that did, intentionally gave it on behalf of someone else, I mean, had so many stories about how they felt so good, and they just lit up, right, when they were talking about it. And so I tell people all the time, yes, money can buy you happiness. You just have to spend it on someone else. So it's definitely the thing that fills me up for sure.
I know that you've had your own journey, and I especially asked as sort of as a friend too, what has inspired you in your own sort of the beginning of your philanthropic journey? And I know that to me, you always feel like you're a couple steps ahead sometimes of people around you. And I know we've had a conversation that stuck with me. Now it's been probably 2 years since we met. And we talked about how much capacity so many people have to give and give in so many ways. And the moment that stuck with me was talking about being somewhere social and talking to a friend who said, I just something about along the lines of like not giving and didn't have the capacity to give to charity, or not right now. But then you saw that her purse probably cost more than what she gives to charity all year. And that really stuck with me, that I think prioritizing giving, it's not that some folks that have capacity don't give, it's that they don't prioritize to the level that they're able to. And I think that thinking creatively, the way you have about different ways to give and how to integrate it into your friendships and be a model and be an inspiration to the people around you to do more as well, has really stuck with me. And I'm wondering, as far as folks around you who maybe didn't get inLieu in the very beginning, I'd love to know if you want to talk a little bit about anyone's evolution or friends, people that you've seen grow through using the app.
Oh yeah, I mean, just actually, not that so funny you brought that up, because not that long ago I was meeting with a friend, and she was basically saying, like, I didn't get it at first when you launched inLieu, but then she really got her personal story, right? She really got impacted by this organization, and she specifically asked for people like, okay, my birthday's coming up, I want everybody to celebrate, but I do not want gifts. And she specifically said, please, if you're going to give a gift, give to this specific nonprofit. And what happened is, some people did give, but what happened is, people showed up and they still brought a gift, right? And it was, and she, I think, and it goes back to that psychology of giving, right? Like, she was like, well, wait a minute, don't you see me? Like, I asked specifically, like, this is really, really near and dear to my heart. But then it goes back to the whole like gifting psychology. And I mean, so many conversations I had with people was like, oh, well, I don't want to show up empty handed, right? Like, oh my God, what are my friends going to think? And that's when I realized, like, wait a minute, the gift is not about you. This gift is supposed to be about your friend. But society and the way we've conditioned ourselves is like, we're all, it's almost competitive, like gift giving, right? Like, who has the best monogrammed Yeti to give to the teacher or whatever, or whoever. And then it's not a reflection of your friends. And, true generosity is not giving people what you think they want. It's giving them what they need. And, you and I have had conversations about this, what we need is to be seen and to be loved and to know that we're worthy and that we have value. Right. And so for me, it's like, actually seeing people, right? And honoring them and realizing that this is what they want, right? And really listening to them. And we don't do that. We don't stop. I mean, I was just reminded, with COVID, we watch all these movies, right? And I was just reminded we watched Avatar. And I love it because, the US invades the Navi people, right? The blue people. And I was reminded that in their language, I could never say it, but when they approach each other, they stop and they say this whatever word, and it means I see you. And it's kind of like namaste, right? When I was traveling, like the most profound change or, thing that happened to me was I spent a month in Nepal. And I think people say namaste at yoga, right? But in Nepal, everybody says namaste, and they stop and they look you in the eye. And, that one word means so much. And I think for us is like, we just have to stop and we have to see people and we have to honor them and we have to love them and make them feel worthy and listen to their story and be curious about their story, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are definitely some of our core values. I think you and I share. I know we share with Impact Austin too. And I'm super grateful for your time. Do you have any closing thoughts before I bring it home with giving some calls to action here?
Oh my gosh, I have so many calls. I think like what we talked about, like being intentional and just being conscious of our interactions with with people throughout the day, right? And and looking at people in the eye and saying, I see you, sister, right? Like I see your pain. I mean, I think that's the one thing about suffering and about like having compassion and empathy. Like for me, I think we need to try to build that more empathy in our world and in that compassion. And anytime you are suffering or you witness somebody else's suffering, it gives you it like deepens your soul, right? And it gives you more capacity for joy. And so I think that's what I would seek out.
Yeah, well, I think more joy is what we all need a little bit right now. So I am doing what your friend asked, and I am directly asking. Tomorrow's my birthday, turning 41. I'm super pumped about it. I already have friends, so I have to do some shout outs to my friends who've already given on inLieu for my birthday. They are picking out charities that they know I super duper care about. On my inLieu profile, I also have highlighted what my preferred charities or nonprofits of choice that I'm encouraging people to give to. So I am so appreciative of you, your time, your generosity. I think you have given all of our members and beyond a really great model and inspiration for finding every single way we can think of to give back. And so thank you, Kathy. And I'd say, so my calls to action are download inLieu, give through inLieu, and thank you, Kathy. I think we're gonna go back and finish off. Thank you, namaste. I see you, and I am so appreciative of you and every single thing you give.